It's now 4:30. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If Colton Simpson, our Deputy Judge Exec, will lead us in invocation, if you continue to stand for the pledge.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day, and we're thankful for the opportunities that you give us to come here today, Lord. And we're just so thankful for each blessing of life. And Lord, I ask the court that you'd give the court wisdom this evening, Lord, and that they make decisions that would be beneficial to Grant Countyans and would be according to your will, Lord. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Jen, if I can have you call roll.
Magistrate Humphrey.
Present.
Magistrate Coldarn.
Present.
Magistrate Riley.
Present.
Judge Chuck Bills.
Present. Before we go on down the agenda, I want to recognize some guests. It looks like we have Mayor Bishop from Corinth with us, Mayor Brockman from Dry Ridge, and Mayor Christopher from Williamstown. Then also I'd like to introduce Phil Crumpton with CAECO. If you'd like to come up, Phil, and say a few words. Phil is our representative at CAECO with the law enforcement. Also, I served with Phil when he was the director of Kentucky Law Enforcement Council, so I've had the opportunity to work in two different positions with him.
You probably know more about me than I do, and one thing is I can't hold a job. Since I retired in 2012. Thank you all for having me here today. Jim Henderson likes for the staff to get out and go to fiscal court meetings, so you're my third one for the year. 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm a long way from home, but we'll be all right. I started at 7:30 this morning. It was in Boone County. Then I got to spend about an hour and 45 minutes with Jim on a Zoom meeting, which is always delightful. You've never been in a Zoom meeting with Jim Henderson. So, hey, I do law enforcement work. CAECO, a lot of you all don't know, but we specialize in a lot of different areas. We got OSHA folks. We got jail folks. Matter of fact, ran into the judge today at lunch with the jailer, and we talked a little bit about some jail resources we have. So we work for you guys, and we're all out here every day, out, especially about 5 or 6 of us, almost every day on the road doing what we can do to see if we can help counties. It's all about counties first with us. If you don't know that, that's the way Jim teaches us and tells us to get on the road and get busy. So I appreciate y'all having me here. I'll go sit down and listen.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for coming. We'll move down to item 5, approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 21st, 2023.
Having read the regular meeting minutes, November 21st, 2023, I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, second by Magistrate Coldarn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
It appears all in favor. Motion carries. Moving down to number 6, fiscal matters. Approval of the claims on the general fund, the road fund, the jail fund, along with all transfers presented, dated December 5th, 2023.
I make a motion this evening to approve the claims on the general fund, the road fund, and the jail fund, along with the transfers as requested, dated December 5th of 2023.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, second by Magistrate Coldarn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor. Motion carries. Moving down to item B, we have a first reading on ordinance number 0010-2023-0267 regarding the Fire Protection Taxing District. And if I could ask our County Attorney, Stephen Bates, to read our ordinance.
An ordinance of the County of Grant and by the Grant County Fiscal Court establishing a fire protection taxing district pursuant to KRS 75.010, along with all non-conflicting provisions of KRS 75.010 through KRS 75.080. Whereas the County of Grant is desirous of creating a fire protection taxing district to provide fire protection services to all citizens, and whereas the current cost of fire protection services needed is more than the revenue provided, therefore, from the general budget, now for there be it ordained by the County of Grant, Kentucky as follows. Section 1. There is hereby created a fire protection taxing district pursuant to KRS 75.010, along with all non-conflicting provisions of KRS 75.010 through KRS 75.080, which shall have all the powers and duties as set out or anticipated under KRS Chapter 75. Grant County Fiscal Court establishes this Grant County, Kentucky Fire Protection Taxing District, hereinafter referred to as the Taxing District or District, or subject to the public hearing which shall be conducted by the Grant County Fiscal Court no less than 30 days after, nor later than 90 days after passage of this ordinance. In the event that after conducting the public meeting, the fiscal court's findings of fact therefrom do not support the propriety of establishing this taxing district, the fiscal court shall repeal this ordinance. Conversely, in the event that after conducting the public meeting, the findings of fact support the propriety of establishing the taxing district, the fiscal court shall adopt an ordinance stating such with its findings of approval. Section 2. Plan of service for the taxing district is attached here to and made a part hereof is Exhibit A, which shall be submitted by the fiscal court as a part of a public hearing on a proposed taxing district as required under KRS 65.182. Section 3. The taxing district shall operate through a board of trustees hereinafter the board. The board members, trustees, shall be appointed and or elected pursuant to KRS 75.031. The board shall consist of 7 members, 4 to be elected by the members of the taxing district who are firefighters or property owners as hereinafter set out, and 3 trustees appointed by the Grant County Judge Executive with approval by the fiscal court. 2 members of the board shall be firefighters elected by the members of the firefighters of the taxing district and shall be residents of the taxing district. 2 members of the board shall be property owners who own real or personal property within the Grant County pursuant to KRS 75.040, who personally reside in the district and who are not active firefighters and shall be elected by property owners of the district. All candidates for trustees shall not be less than 21 years of age on the date of their appointment by the Judge Executive or the date of the election. On the election set out below, 1 firefighter shall be elected to serve on the board for a period of 1 year, 1 for a period of 3 years, and 1 non-firefighter property owner shall be elected to serve on the board for a period of 2 years, and 1 for a period of 4 years. In each case, the candidate receiving the most votes shall serve the longer initial term. On the expiration of the respective terms, a successor to each shall have the same qualifications as his or her predecessor and shall be elected for a term of 4 years. The original appointed trustees shall be appointed for terms of 1, 2, and 3 years respectively. On the expiration of the respective terms, the successors to each shall be appointed for a term of 3 years. In the event of a vacancy in the term of an appointed or elected trustee, the Grant County Judge Executive shall appoint, with the approval of the fiscal court, a trustee for the remainder of the term. As cited in the statute, the elections of the non-appointed trustees shall be conducted on the 4th Saturday in June. This would be June 22nd of 2024, between the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the Dry Ridge Firehouse, being the principal firehouse in the taxing district. For the first election, since there will be no bylaws as mentioned in KRS 75.031-2, until the board is fully selected, the nominations for elections to the board of both the firefighter candidates and the property owner candidates shall be made in writing by a firefighter or property owner respectively residing in the taxing district on or before May 31st of 2024. The initial board meeting shall be on Monday the 8th day of July 2024 at the Dry Ridge Fire Department at 7 p.m. unless the trustees by majority agree to another date, time, and place. The trustee appointed for the longest term by the Judge Executive chairing the meeting until the chairperson is selected. After the election of officers, the board shall adopt bylaws which shall address future nomination procedures, meeting dates and times, and all other matters set by statute or as they may deem necessary and appropriate to discharge their duties as trustees. Section 4. The board shall set a tax rate each year as prescribed under KRS 132.0225. The initial tax rate shall be set on or about 8th day of July 2024, and the initial tax rate shall not exceed 10 cents per $100 of full assessed valuation as defined under KRS 75.015 subsection 6. The board may also set a tax rate on tangible property, autos, boats, and planes not to exceed the aforementioned rate as defined under KRS 75.015 subsection 6. The board shall set a tax rate based on needed revenue to provide or contract to provide adequate and cost-effective fire protection service to the citizens of Grant County that live in the taxing district. It is anticipated that the taxing district shall operate an emergency ambulance service within the district, and therefore the tax rate for operation of the emergency ambulance service shall not exceed 10 cents for $100 of full assessed valuation as defined under KRS 75.040 subsection 1B. This would be in addition to the rate set for the fire protection addressed above for a maximum total of 20 cents per $100 of full assessed valuation. Because tax revenue cannot be collected from the newly established taxing district until October 21, 2024, and the city of Dry Ridge is currently providing fire protection services, the county is hereby directed through this ordinance that the Board of Trustees or Board of the Taxing District shall only serve as an advisory board of the Grant County Fiscal Court until January 1 of 2025, with the exception of setting the tax rates as provided in subsection 4 of this ordinance. The board will begin contract negotiations and research direct fire protection services immediately following their first board meeting in order to take over full and complete administrative fire protection services for the district beginning on January 1, 2025. The current arrangement of providing funds to the city of Dry Ridge from the fiscal court and other municipalities will continue until sufficient revenues are collected to conduct the functions and purposes of the taxing district. Since it is the objective, Section 6. Sorry, let me take a breath. Section 6. Since it is the objective of the Grant County Fiscal Court that the Board of Trustees of the taxing district to annex and incorporate all existing fire departments operating in the Grant County into the newly established countywide district, this ordinance shall hereby directs the Board of Trustees of the taxing district to negotiate the purchase and or lease and or use of all equipment now belonging to the city of Dry Ridge, city of Williamstown, city of Corinth, or the city of Crittenden Fire District, or the volunteer fire districts of those municipalities. Due to the fact that equipment life expires, all equipment after its normal useful life has expired, as determined by the Board of Trustees, shall be the property of the taxing district and shall be disposed of using the manner outlined under KRS 45A.425. At any time that the taxing district is abolished or discontinues to perform adequate ambulance service, the Grant County Fiscal Court shall dissolve the district, and any and all assets of the taxing district shall revert back to the county. Section 7. The provisions of this ordinance are severable if any sentence, clause, or section or part of this ordinance or the application thereof to any particular case is for any reason found to be unconstitutional, illegal, invalid. Such unconstitutionality, illegality, or invalidity shall not affect or repeal any of the remaining provisions, sentences, clauses, or sections or parts of this ordinance. Is it being the legislative intent of this body to ordain and enact such provisions, section, paragraph, sentence, and part hereof separately and independently of such provisions. Section 8. The county, by and through the fiscal court, hereby authorizes and directs the fiscal court clerk to comply with the provisions of KRS 65.182 as follows. The fiscal court clerk shall notify all planning commissions, cities, area development districts within the boundaries and jurisdictions of the proposed taxing district, including any state agencies required by law to be so notified regarding the formation of the taxing district. The fiscal court clerk shall schedule a public hearing on this proposal to form the taxing district no earlier than 30 days nor later than 90 days from the receipt of this ordinance, and shall, in accordance with KRS Chapter 424, publish notice of the time and place and public hearing together with the accurate map of the area to be included in the taxing district. The public hearing shall be conducted in compliance with KRS 65.182. Section 6 regards this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage, publication, and recording according to law, filling in the dates of the first reading, second reading, in accordance with the schedule of the court. Plan of service attached as Exhibit A. As directed by the fiscal court of the County of Grant, Kentucky, hereinafter county, this is the plan of service is prepared in accordance with KRS 65.182 relating to the establishment and creation of a fire protection district to be known as the Grant County, Kentucky Fire Protection District, hereinafter district, and sets forth the following as is germane to the purposes for which the district is being formed. KRS 65.182 subsection 1B and KRS 75.010, the statutory authorities under which the fire protection taxing districts shall be created. KRS Chapter 75 is the statutory authority under which the fire protection district will operate. Section 2, demographic characteristics of the fire protection district area. Population of the district, subsection 2.1. current population of the district, which encompasses almost all of Grant County, Kentucky, is approximately 25,502 persons. A small part of Grant County that is not included is described in Exhibit B, attached here too. Grant County, Kentucky is approximately 258 square miles with approximately 9,044 total households. Projected growth under subsection 2.3, the population of Grant County, Kentucky in 2022 is approximately 25,502 people, which was a 3.3% increase from the 24,681 people who lived in Grant County, Kentucky in 2010. The assessed valuation of the district area, subsection 2.4. The total assessed valuation of the district area in Grant County, Kentucky will be $1,472,827,177. Section 3, description of the district service area, anticipated date of beginning service, nature and extent of proposed service, projected effect of providing service on the social and economic growth of the service area, and projected growth in service and demand or need. Subsection 3.1, the district service area. The district area will encompass the entire county of Grant, Kentucky, as shown in the legal description in the attached Exhibit A, except for the property described in the attached Exhibit B. That description, including the attached map, as Exhibit C, therefore constitutes the district service area. Just as clarification, the attached Exhibit B are those properties currently serviced by the Verona Fire District as outlined, with the property identification numbers and street addresses and approximate acreages of those properties. Subsection 3.2, anticipated date of beginning service. The district estimates that the services will begin on or about January 1st, 2025 for the citizens of Grant County and emergency ambulance service in January 2026 or sooner collected funds allow. Subsection 3.3, nature and extent of proposed service. Providing fire protection services, consolidating fire protection services and financial management, and providing greater access to emergency ambulance services to the citizens of Grant County is the nature and extent of the district's proposed services. The formation of a district will provide for the training and education of fire protection personnel, emergency ambulance service personnel, and for the benefit, health, and well-being of the citizens of Grant County and of the district. In order to provide fire protection services and emergency ambulance services to the citizens of Grant County, the business management, operations, financial management of the district needs to be separated from the county and any municipality within the county and put under the ownership and control of the district. The district's sole responsibility is to manage all fire protection service operations and eventually emergency ambulance service operations to include fire protection services, emergency ambulance services, business management, and financial management. As a result, the fire protection services and ambulance services will improve, firefighter and emergency medical technician recruitment will increase, and access to financing will become available supported by expected tax revenues, all for the benefits of the citizens of Grant County. Subsection 3.4, projected effect of providing these services. The primary effect of providing fire protection and emergency ambulance services through the Fire Protection District is overall improvement of the fire protection and emergency ambulance services, which will be consolidated into one governing body whose single purpose is to improve and deliver fire protection and emergency ambulance services to the citizens of Grant County. The financial resources available to the district will allow it to concentrate those resources to fire protection and emergency ambulance services, resulting in improved fire protection and emergency ambulance service management. Tax dollars from the district will be used solely for the fire protection services and emergency ambulance services purposes, thereby reducing or eliminating the need of providing funds from the general fund of the county in reliance on the city of Dry Ridge and or other municipalities to provide all of these services to the district service areas. Subsection 3.5. Projected growth in service demand and or need. The population of Grant County continues to grow with an increase of approximately 1,000 persons between 2010 and 2022. The demand for services of the fire protection services and emergency services is absolutely necessary to meet the ever-growing needs of a county with a growth rate of approximately 3.8%. Section 4, 3-year projection of cost revenues versus revenue. It's attached as an exhibit to this. Set forth as projected revenue in 2024 and 25. Fire only would be $1,580,000. Approximate cost $1,395,000 for the tax year of 2025-26. Total revenue $3,717,000. Total cost $4,308,000 for a difference of approximately $591,000. And in 2026 and 27, revenue of $4,100,000, total cost of $4.5 million, roughly, with a difference of approximately $432,000. Justification for the formation of the district. The Grant County Fiscal Court believes that the formation of a taxing district for both fire protection and ambulance services is absolutely necessary for the long-term protection of the citizens of Grant County. Currently, the city of Dry Ridge, a municipality of approximately 4,000 citizens, is providing these services to all of Grant County with little to no guaranteed assistance from volunteer fire departments being operated within other municipalities of Grant County. Additionally, the Fiscal Court knows of no other non-governmental providers are servicing the citizens of Grant County with the services being offered by the formation of this fire protection district. Section 6, additional information. Grant County Fiscal Court, having studied and consulted with the Grant County Planning and Zoning Administrator, recognizes the need for a taxing district for both fire protection and ambulance services, as the county has seen and continues to see areas of the county that were previously zoned for agricultural use only be rezoned for residential purposes. The formation of the district will meet the needs and provide the means for the services to the ever-growing residential areas of Grant County, urban or rural, with a financing structure independent of the voluntary contributions by the various governments or fire departments on a year-to-year basis as now exist. That's the entirety of the ordinance.
Stephen, thank you. That's a lot of reading. And I know that most of you may have it. If not, we'll have copies of the ordinances in entirety. Just to add a little bit, this has been researched and conversations went on for probably a number of years, but especially the last 6-7 months, it's come to the forefront that our ambulance service is probably not adequate, and it is not adequate for the service of the whole county. We've been relying upon a municipality, which is normally unheard of in the state of Kentucky, for one city to provide services throughout the county. And it's been recognized numerous times to try to unify one agency to provide the ambulance and fire services. It eliminates a lot of duplication of services, which when there's duplication of services, there's extra and cost that comes out of the taxpayers' money on that side of it. So I just wanted to add a little bit of that. This constitutes the first reading by statute. We'll have our second reading at our next meeting, which will be in person here, and then following up with on this with a public hearing that will be set probably in a date around February is when we have a public hearing. I'll ask the magistrates before I move on the agenda if there's any comments they want after this. It's not required, but I thought on something as important as this is to our community, it is creating a taxing district. We've not had to do that. I was hoping that we probably never would have to, and it's come to that we're at that crossroad that if we want to provide these services, these are the avenues that we got to look at. So any comments from you all before I move on?
Yeah, I want to not question. In section 2.4 of the plan service, we've got the $1,472,0827,177. And if I go back to the cost versus revenue, we've got a revenue of 1.5. But if you take a dollar per thousand based on this figure here of the valuation, that really only comes to 1.472. So on the revenue side, I'm wondering where the increase of the difference of the 107,823 is coming from.
Shauna, I don't know that I'm following you.
Okay.
The revenue is based off of assessments that was provided to me by PVA.
Which is what we say is 1,472,827 in the ordinance. Well, no, it's under the plan. I'm just questioning for validity purposes, because if you take that times, as I say, a dollar per thousand, it's a difference of $107,000. So I'm just wondering where that revenue is. Is there something else in there?
The tangibles.
Is that where it's coming from?
Yes, off of property tangibles, not off of vehicles on the first year.
Is that on the year 2024, 2025?
Yes, the first year fire only, is property tax and tangibles. You're probably figuring it off of just the property.
Well, whatever
tax.
this assessed valuation is of the district area in 2.4, you're saying that that does not include the tangibles? is
Correct.
what- Okay, well, that makes sense then.
In that diagram, that Exhibit D, for if anyone gets that, when I spoke with the judge in the ordinance, as this has been crafted, that is just a worst-case scenario and current status of how these departments operate today. One would say that the benefit of this hopefully is efficiencies and leverage of scale, purchase of scale. So as you think about the cost, and it does show a difference in year 2 and 3 once the combined fire and EMS is established, that there's still a shortfall. But that also doesn't show yet what the benefit could be from, one continuity, consistent management approach across the county, purchasing like equipment, for all, like from a uniform standpoint. So in my opinion, this would be worst case from a shortfall once this is implemented, not knowing yet the efficiencies that would be gained from the board once that's intact, because this would be for them to decide what staffing looks like, what equipment looks like, what scheduling looks like. And this projection is off of how it's currently ran today. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm not questioning the validity of ordinance. I was just, that figure was not matching, and that's all I was questioning.
But you were basing off of the
I was basing it off of the
assessment off of
1.472, and if I
real
was reading the
properties
ordinance
only.
and said times 10 cents, which is $1 per thousand, well, we've got a revenue of 1.5, but actually that's 1.4. You're missing $100,000 there, just for
Yes.
clarity purposes. That's all.
And Judge, and I would say, as you're seeking comments, as a lifetime Grant County, and I think that is the majority of us, all of us on this court, and even in this room, this topic of fire emergency management response has always been a topic of discussion in this community, and I think we have been uniquely positioned for many decades to be probably one of the only communities that has gotten by for the length of time that we've gotten by under current state. And at some point, when you look at our general tax dollars from a property value, we can't continue to provide the services that we need to for the quality of roads, parks and rec, animal shelter, just public service on the other side of the spectrum when, we've been pulling from the general fund to provide this public service entity. And at some point, it's caught up with us. I think we've been trying to do things as the governing body with the fire dues, but this governing body continues to have to subsidize certain departments. And the ordinance calls out what our reality has been for many decades, and that's that the city of Dry Ridge has provided EMS service for the entire county. And say that again, that the city of Dry Ridge has provided, the majority of EMS services for this county and the other municipalities. And so we've wrote that out, and to the point where they can't afford, to continue to fund that. The county's general fund can't continue to subsidize it. And frankly, even where the other cities over the past few years have finally paid a share too. Yes, it is an additional tax. We would all be subject to it, but I think the benefit of providing a better quality of life that we as elected officials would then be able to take our general fund dollars and be able to do something else with also, is a blessing too. And I don't think anyone wants to pay more taxes, but then when you look around at infrastructure that is falling apart, roads that continue to need to be resurfaced, and folks want service, but that also comes with a price. And so I know there's been a lot of work and a lot of discussion, and frankly, decades of discussion against this. And I'm interested, to see, other input against this. It's not a light decision. I just know that we're running out of time to provide the best services that we can.
And as a county, we're not exempt from the inflation either. We're seeing it on our bids with our roads, 30% at least minimum, the cost of paving roads, and, you know, what we were paving roads for $100,000 is now like $200,000, almost double. So,
And also call it what it is. The last year and a half to 2 years as a county governing body, if it wasn't for the COVID pandemic, we would have maybe resurfaced 1 or 2 roads. And so we have been on, you know, a journey, but that was because there was extra money that we won't get again that we were able to do stuff with. And, you know, the other thing that I want to say is this is a journey, you know, that we've been on as a community. We are growing, and, you know, the way that the county attorney read the ordinance is we need to address emergency management. We can't address emergency management unless we create a fire district, which then a year later allows us, you know, allows that board, whoever serves on that board, to then enact, you know, the emergency management side of it, the ambulance side of it. And so that was learning to me, like as we started researching this, in my simple mind, it was, well, create an emergency management and ambulance district, and you can't unless you have the other one first.
Right.
And so just to clarify for citizens, like, well, what is this and why do we have to do that? Well, that's the current legislation.
yeah. Okay. Anyone else if you all don't mind, can we just say for citizens' comment, because we're just doing the first reading?
Well, there's some wordage in it that might need to be addressed.
Okay.
Section 60.
Hold on, wait, can you wait a second? I don't want to get there.
If you look at section 6, down towards the bottom, it says adequate ambulance service as a, to discontinue. That might need to have fire added to it as well as ambulance. And then something unique that you need to think about is the city of Corinth, the city of Crittenden, and Jonesville. Those are 501c3 entities.
Yes.
Who aren't owned by those cities. So I don't know how that needs to be addressed, but that was 2 main things that really jumped out at me. And I went on down to section 5 of
So back to
Exhibit
5.
A.
Are you in the ordinance or the plan of services?
That was the ordinance, section 6.
And what paragraph, 1 or 2?
Down towards paragraph 2, towards the bottom, it says ambulance service. It probably
Should say fire.
It says fire and ambulance. It would be correct, I think. Correct, Steve?
Yeah.
And just stipulating that those it says city of Corinth, city of Crittenden, those aren't city-owned fire departments. Those are 501c3s.
Yeah, boards, yes.
So I don't know how that plays into.
Well, it's for the Board of Trustees to negotiate and/or decide how they're going to take in those other entities. So, quite frankly, when we draft this thing, and everybody here has to know this, is that you relinquish control of this. Obviously, we have the part about the advisory board, but their ability to negotiate with these other entities is on the Board of Trustees to do so. And
I think what I was trying to say is the cities have no control over those entities.
I understand.
Correct.
Right.
Yes,
Something
they
you
would have
need
to
to be
go
aware of
before-
going
yes.
into.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And then under Exhibit A, Section 5, Section 5, I highlighted that.
Now, is this on the plan or
This is Exhibit A.
Under the plan or
the
Yeah,
ordinance?
so
Choose
plan of
Exhibit
service,
A.
Section 5. I know what he's getting ready to say.
Exhibit A,
Yeah.
Plan of Service.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
If you go down to Section 5, currently the city of Dry Ridge municipality, it states in there that they don't have the guarantee of mutual aid. We've always operated under mutual aid, so that's sort of wordy there that's not necessarily true in the fact. And the city of Williamstown definitely provides as much to Dry Ridge as they provide to Williamstown. So I don't know if the wording needs to be changed in that, but I'm just pointing it out. And that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thanks, Les. David?
Is it possible to ask a couple of questions?
Yeah. Yeah, just come on up to the speaker.
I don't know, I might have been living in a cave for the past so many years, but, because I don't take the paper anymore, but I haven't seen justification for this. In other words, I haven't seen any dollar numbers for the past so many years on what it's costing us for fire and ambulance service. We had an interlocal agreement years ago that we started, and before that, we were paying, I live out in the county in Dry Ridge, and we were paying $50 a year fire dues to Crittenden Volunteer Fire Department. And then we got this interlocal agreement supposedly so many years ago, and it's still maintained at 50, but all the landowners had to pay 50, I think it went. Anyway, so that's the interlocal agreement. The other thing is, I mean, to me it's important. I like to see the numbers for the last 5 years on fire runs and ambulance runs, and I'd like to see what the staffing has been for the past 5 years. I think you have to look at that so you can come up with a metric on what is needed.
And we have, David, and that's what we'll have for the public hearing is.
Okay, and the next thing is the population. The population is a smoke and mirrors, stupid number to me.
Well, I can tell you why that's not even.
I know it goes by the census, but it doesn't mean anything. I'd like to go by electric meters because residences, property is what's going to pay this money.
Right.
It isn't going to be. We don't have a head count. I mean.
Well, and I'll tell you where some of the head count is. That's not even included in our population. Unlike a lot of counties, we have over 200 and some Airbnbs in the county, so they're getting taxed, but we're not getting the population count.
Well, and I think in this case, it's really the resident figure that's going to drive, because that's what you provide service to. So I don't know if the population in general means
Data point, but
it's a
Yes.
data point, but
taking is other information. Which
yes.
Yeah, the calls of service is what's important. That's the numbers we've been looking at every quarter.
Well, the fire department just doesn't make calls to residences. I mean, it does it to commercial
Sure.
entities,
Highways.
to anybody. So, and same as ambulance service, and we used to have rural, whatever it was, ambulance, and they used to share part of it, where Dry Ridge couldn't make it, they were gonna fill in, and now I hear they're just doing the hospital. That's just me hearing. Anyway, I go by electric meters, how many residences or how many, what the tax is.
But, yeah.
Because each one of those gets taxed. It's a building, a structure that's paying the county. The other thing is, you came up with $1,472,000.
On the assessment,
Yeah.
And if you take that times the max, it comes up to $2,945,654
Right.
is the income that you're going to get off of that. I'm just.
That's right.
And the last thing I'd say is there a metric
I can tell.
to establish how much of equipment and how much of personnel is needed? I mean, for all the years that we've been doing this, there should be an easy program just put together to show everybody, because you're going to have to do that to convince, and this is sorely needed. Don't get me wrong, I'm for this, but
Well, and that's what I've been saying all along. I mean, I tried very hard to get the budgets of the cities and the municipalities. I was successful in Dry Ridge giving me their budget, and Jonesville were giving their budget. But unfortunately, it seems like some of it's a fly-by-night thing. It's a rounded number, and I'm with you. Those figures need to be presented, on that.
And I think looking back at the past 5 years, I know the county's growing, but you can't look at the population. You have to look at the building. And how do you look at Airbnbs? Each one of those is a structure, and that should be charged too.
they are.
Well, they
will
are.
be.
See, they will be incorporated by the property tax.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they will probably pay significant, so that's another.
Yeah.
And in getting the budgets that we did have, you know, I was fallen back by the fact that the equipment and the personnel and the labor that's existing is just not keeping up with the demand of the revenue coming in. And the cost of stuff has went up so much. We just did, as you say, David, this past tax season, put the 96 on, which we had been 25
For 11 years.
For I don't know how many years.
11.
You know, and so that disparity alone still is not going to make up the difference. I can tell you that.
And
The
on
96.
25 and the 96, people had a way to opt out.
Yes.
Where they didn't have to pay it.
Right.
And, you know, you look at the ones who are not paying it are the ones that can very much so afford to pay it.
Well, and at one time, I can't remember how they went with it, but a farm. I mean,
Right.
the fire department has to go out and take care of a farm fire,
Mm-hmm.
not a building, but a farm, and they got out of that somehow.
Yeah, if they had over 3 pieces of property
Exactly, yeah.
in the same
Right.
Yeah.
fire district.
Anyway, and
Well-
the last thing is revenue provided, therefore, from the general budget. Again, this is supposed to have been, to my understanding, an interlocal agreement, and money was supposed to be coming in from everywhere, and like Corinth and Crittenden and Dry Ridge, their equipment was supposed to be used out in the county. That was the interlocal agreement, I think that was. And I'm trying to figure out the general budget. Are you talking about the general budget for the fire and ambulance service in the county, or are you talking about the county's budget? And, you know, coming out of the general fund?
Well, this special
That-
district will be like a self-governing, just like the library board.
No,
To
I'm
answer
talking
your
about right
question,
now.
the general,
Yes,
the county
right now.
general fund, the county general fund does provide, and in that interlocal agreement, we are one of the paying entities,
Right.
as is all the municipalities. And that still is, what we are hearing is still not meeting the demand.
Well,
So do we have data to show how much everybody's kicking in?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's
What-
part of the interlocal agreement. That
I
was
would-
about 3 years.
Yes.
I would like to clarify that, though. The fire is not supplemented by the general fund.
Well, it
The
is,
fire-
yeah, $50,000.
For it.
Well, yes, Jonesville and Corinth, I take that back. But the 25 original and the 96 that come off the tax bill is what supplemented each of the departments to that time.
And to not make this complicated, but to put the facts on the table, some of those municipalities are still funded by their cities in addition to the fire dues, but not all.
Just to,
I hope.
Dry Ridge,
And Crittenden,
Yeah.
3.
Crittenden,
The
Roger?
only two
Yeah.
not would be
Do they put
Jonesville and
into-
Corinth. Yes,
Crittenden,
yes.
City of Crittenden does contribute to the Crittenden Fire Department.
cool.
they do.
City of Crittenden owns all the property as far as
And
the physical property, but the fire trucks and everything's owned by the fire department.
I will say the city of Dry Ridge and the city of Williamstown's budgets are extremely higher than the other.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely, that's what I found out.
Point, which I think is what's interesting, like all the times we've looked at data sets through the years that Shauna and I have been here, it has been difficult. We're one county, but we are not apples to apples by any stretch of the imagination. And that's a shame because it comes down to the others just simply can't afford it. But like,
Crittenden
so
and-
say Jonesville, say the city of Corinth, and it's been very hard to put together a spreadsheet. I mean, you can, but it does not show uniformity. It does not show equitable service. And I think we could do better.
Well, I think the court needs to push back on these entities and get those numbers provided to the court. And the last thing I'll tell you, and I thank you for your patience, when you have this civic meeting, I hope you have PowerPoint charts and graphs explaining all this, because all these whereas and all that is just right over the top, you know? Seeing it in black and white and what we have and what is needed. And is there a metric that says what is needed for a county of this size, how many vehicles we need and whatever?
I'm sure there is.
Well, we need to get to that because we have to have a baseline to develop
And while
and
the
then work from that.
And while the mayors are here, what I would encourage is help getting those amounts. Because as I said, when I went to retrieve those amounts, it just wasn't easy to do because you would have one send one here and, well, this is that and this is that and you have to take out this. Well,
And they're all not operated the same.
no, they're all not operated. So we're going to have to depend on them to give us a firm budget of what it costs to do these things.
That's an unacceptable.
I know it is. That's what I'm
In
saying.
this day and age of computers,
Yes.
I mean,
I agree with
they'd
you.
be able to do that in a couple of strokes.
I agree with
They
you.
have a budget and they have to put
I
money
would say
in
the
it.
city of Williamstown was provided to.
It was provided.
That asked for it, and I can tell you that you start asking about equipment and such, a brand new fire truck's $500,000.
Yeah.
That's a cheap. And they're replaced every 20 years.
I'm just not used to looking at budgets.
I see you shaking your head, but each fire department is different, just like she stated, and it's very much so that way. But the city of Williamstown, you can't compare the city of Corinth to the city of Williamstown.
No.
Just because the demographics is different, but they need the same equipment to do the job. So I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying, 100%. So just I'm trying to.
Well, and just so you know, like I said, this is just our first reading. We'll
Yes.
have all that information
Yes.
for a hearing and present it there. We weren't prepared to present that type of evidence before this first reading. Obviously, wasn't appropriate.
I mean, in reality, this is our way of just proposing to the public now. This is what we're attempting to do.
Did anybody else have any comments since we're at this point? I'll go ahead and open it up.
Well, I was going to wait till.
Mayor Christopher, you,
No, I haven't been out.
okay, well, thank you for coming up.
Not walking out frustrated.
Okay, we
Yeah,
understand.
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll open it back up for citizens' comments. Moving down to item C, reappointment of Ashley Louderman to the Corinth Water Board effective January 1, 2024, and to expire December 31st, 2027. Just so you'll know, Ashley serves on the board. She was serving an unexpired term, so she's been on there shortly. I spoke to Dan Fields, the chairman of the Water Board. He really liked to see her continue to serve. Ashley has an accounting background and maybe even a CPA, but I know she has a background in accounting and is doing an excellent job actually as her treasurer.
I make a motion to reappoint Ashley Lauderman to the Corinth Water Board effective January 1st, 2024, for such term to expire December 31st of 2027.
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It appears all in favor. Motion carries. Move down. We have no old business or new business to report on. You have the treasurer's report with you, and actually Peggy, our county treasurer, is with us. If you all have any questions for her.
She deserves a raise. We've got an EM mitigation thing.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks for your input. You all have in front of you the animal shelter, road supervisor's report, building inspector's report. We're continuing with more new constructions. Coroner's report, jailer. I spoke to the jailer earlier. He wasn't going to be able to make it. The population at the jail is 208 today. They had some that graduated, and I found out today, and I should have known this, a lot of them graduate and leave at the first of each month. So that population, I'm going to report it at next meeting because that population fluctuates on it. So currently it's 208. Sheriff's report, I don't believe the sheriff is with us. He actually had a dentist appointment. I don't know if he's finished or not. Moving down to judge's report. I just want to say that the Country Christmas went real well Saturday. Great turnout. I'm estimating 3,500 to 4,000 people, just based off the crowds. So, real well. And I want to commend all the county employees for the decoration of the county properties. They've done a great job decorating the building and even some stuff at the parks. So, moving down to Magistrate Humphrey, anything to report?
No, sir, nothing to report.
Magistrate Codorn?
No, just to reiterate what you said about the county Christmas. I've heard all kinds of good comments, and it was well received.
Yes. Magistrate Riley?
Nothing further to add.
And I just want to say that this Saturday we'll be doing the Shop with the Cops. So look forward to that every year, being able to take children Christmas shopping that probably wouldn't unable to be able to do so. So it's a great program the Sheriff's Office has put on and continues to put on, and I enjoy still being a part of it, even though I'm no longer sheriff. So
Well,
I do enjoy it.
in saying that, the Sheriff's Department has also been instrumental in the food pantries
Yeah.
by helping with,
Cram the
people to bring-
Cruiser and
Yeah, Cram the Cruiser. I know they collected quite a bit,
so it's
and they've been helpful
great
there, too.
asset to the community. Okay, moving down to citizens' address. Did you, Debbie? Anybody else? Go ahead, Debbie. Okay, come on up to the podium. See if that mic's still on. Is it?
Oh my gosh, I forgot to check. Was it?
We got it? Okay.
All right, I'm Debbie Yates. I just had a couple questions about the fire district thing. How does this, the proposed changes compare to the charges? How does that compare to the existing charge?
They will be taken off. So, for example, the $96 currently on the tax bill will be rescinded. Now, I can't speak for the city of Williamstown. City of Williamstown, at some point, I assume, will remove the charge off the utility bill for the ambulance service. I'm trying to think of any other.
I don't, statutorily, I don't believe you can have a fee and a ad valorem
you
tax
can't.
at the same
So, and
time.
I'm just naming off the ones
Yeah.
I know.
So
So
which
any
one-
of them that will be a conflict with the current taxing district would be rescinded.
Has to come off.
Because it looks like the cost versus the revenue is at a loss right now. Those three projections. that-
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what I was explaining, Debbie, as this was put together. Like, what does that mean? What does that template show? And that's current projections at worst case scenario that continues to operate as it does. But one would say the value would come from when those 7 board members are the ones making those decisions countywide, and would there, and there likely should be, efficiencies gained. And
Because there's a lot of duplications that's going on with the fire departments that will be eliminated, and we're unable to do that until you have one form to.
Especially on your administrative side. I mean, you've got it, usually when you combine like that, the one that saves the biggest is on your administration, because you've got, 5 or 6 entities now that all have separate administration departments. So, that should save.
That was one of the reasons I was asking the first question, because I was kind of looking at what that looked like a shortfall compared to what, because my understanding is the reason you're doing this is so that everything is, because you're losing so much money, you can't afford to pay for it.
but we're not losing money. We're just not collecting enough money to provide an adequate service
Service.
consistently.
Yes.
But my question is that because of the money that's being into it now, is it going to equalize out or?
Well, the cost on the expenditure side of it is based off of additional services that we're not even receiving. So that cost was based off of additional staffing for ambulances that we're currently not providing.
Okay, so you guys are saying that what Dry Ridge is doing right now is inadequate?
No, they need more staffing to do a countywide service.
We could spread it out more across the county, make everything more even across the county for everyone.
Right. So they're
And-
not able to do that.
Exactly, right
Yeah,
now
and
we're not. And plus, if you look at the money we're having to spend into these different entities and the fire departments and EMS and so forth, it cuts into the budget of the fiscal court where we can't provide other services.
And that's what I understood when Judge Gilchrist was talking. That was one of the things that I kind of keyed in on, and that was why I had the question, because it looks like there's a loss, there'll be a loss, as it is right now. If you move forward with it, how does that compare with what, that you're not able to provide now? The loss is a loss.
Lost.
And like I said, that's based off of personnel that they don't currently have.
You're saying that projection has some of it built in?
Yes.
So current state plus trying to provide a better state?
Yes.
Okay. And there's not going to be a lag or a duplication as this comes online. Is that what your board is going to be doing, making sure that there's not a lag in coverage and not a duplication? Ambulance service, fire service, and everything from all of the what is, I think there's 6 that we have now, and then you're going to take it down to 1.
Yes, it'd be governed by one entity. The 7 trustees will be governing one fire chief for the Grant County, and not each department having their own fire chiefs. And
I was just wondering, will they be, are you going to be working with those entities to make sure there's not a lag in service?
yes,
It would be if all come on board and not continue to operate in their municipalities, and that's what their governing body decides, then that's where the consistency will be brought forth.
So if they decide no,
Say what?
if somebody decides no, what?
they would be operating. For example, we'll use City of Williamstown. If they decided not to, so they'll be confined to just their city limits. They could try to create a FAR district or FAR and EMS in their district, which would be consistent of their city limits only. Everything outside their city limits would be part of the Grant County district.
Which is kind of what they have right now, each city.
Well, no, actually, each city covers, and that's where a lot of the financial concerns has come in. Dry Ridge, when you talk about Dry Ridge's fire district, is different than the city limits of Dry Ridge, because the city limits is not real big, but their fire district goes over to Mount Zion, heads over towards Jonesville, and so on. So their district's, I don't know, 5 times larger. Is that right, Greg? At least than their city limits, or maybe even larger.
Like a 60, it's about a 50-50, it seems like, isn't it?
And then on that same token, you look at the city of Corinth that has a volunteer board managed by a board, not dictated or managed by the city council. It's all of it, and so it's just we're one county and we've got multiple things happening inconsistently.
And see, one thing's not taken into account on our figures. Corinth, for example, and I maybe not speaking out of turn with Jonesville, but Corinth receives funds from Owen County because their district has no county boundaries.
They have an interlocal agreement.
Well, they're down there.
Yes.
They're right in that.
So that would be what the trustees of the fire board would do. They would contract with entities like Owen County on continuing to provide the services they're providing.
Wouldn't that be consistent with Jonesville too?
Yes,
Yeah,
but it'd
because
be all with Owen County.
Yeah.
And a part of what that board would do once, decisions are made by the respective municipalities also, an ideal vision would be that they negotiate what does it look like to operate the Grant County Fire District. And one of their hubs is, Williamstown's current building, is Dry Ridge's current building, is Creighton's. So the current assets we have, what does it look like? Is it, lease this for $1 type of thing, or, what does that look like? The ideal is that we go off with this new board and start creating additional firehouses. It's look at our assets that we currently have for those that will be participating in this.
And I assume you guys talk to the cities over there about this.
Yes, I've had conversation with, when I say cities, I've had conversation with all the mayors in all the cities.
One thing I was curious about, I kind of glanced over and I think you answered it and I just misunderstood, about some of that's going to be left out, like Month Road, holding the Mount Zion.
So a portion portion of the district is not covered because in the northwest quarter of the county, the Verona Fire District comes in and takes over a section. And so we cannot obviously tax those entities that are currently under the Verona tax district. So all of those properties that are in that district are excluded from this district.
That's kind of what I thought, looking at where it was at, but I just wanted to clarify.
And just so you know, when they receive their Grant County tax bill, the sheriff collects the money for the Verona Fire District on those individuals that live in that district.
That's good to know, because I had somebody who was talking about that. Somebody was talking to me.
They can fuss to Verona.
Yeah.
They can fuss to Verona Fire District.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another one there last week, so I will email it to you.
That'd be great.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Anyone else?
Excuse me, can I ask two follow-ups?
Yes.
Do the residents of Dry Ridge pay fire dues to the city?
No.
Does Williamstown?
No.
And what happens if it gets voted in by the people, but the city says, I don't want to do this?
I'm lost you about voting in by
If
the.
Williamstown, just throwing this out, Williamstown says, no, we don't want to join that. We got our own equipment, we want to keep it and just take care of our own city, and we don't want to be part of this. Do they have to join?
No.
No, they don't. It's a potential. I'm not saying it will, but
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our hopes is, and there's no way of knowing until we create a district, our hopes is that they will. Yes, and I think I've got some feedback from some individuals that serve on their council, and I think that they're interested because they know the needs and that they can no longer
yeah, the
operate.
cost.
That's coming out of their
Yeah.
general fund to subsidize.
Because Dry Ridge is heavily supplementing their cost.
But just the way the statute is, Stephen, I tell you, it's hard to get everything ironed out and in writing before you
Yeah,
do
it
an
is.
ordinance. You just can't do that.
Well, there's two methods. Okay, so there's one method is to do it like we just done it, and the second method is to do it by petition. Okay.
Yes.
So this is the method that's been done tonight is by the fiscal court to enact this ordinance. The other thing could have been for the citizens of the county to come forward with a petition that says we want to create the own fire district. So I think we'd probably still be waiting on that petition. So now we're going to do it this way.
The only thing I say respond to that is, I have not seen a definitive need to have this. The numbers have not, and that's, this is kind of putting the cart before the horse. I mean, to me, you open this up and you say, here's where we're at in fire calls and that, here's where the costs are at, and we're having to make up this dollar amount, and we propose going with a taxing district, and
I don't disagree with you, and here's what I would say in response. What I would say is I'm not a member of the fiscal court. I'm a legal advisor to the fiscal court, and as such, I've advised them in the ordinance to put in the very first preamble, which you would notice says that upon the public hearing, if they don't find sufficient cause to create this, it's rescinded. And so the public hearing, which will provide you with the information, the questions, or the answers to your questions that you have, if it does, it's not there, it's not there.
But that information, David, and I get, because you're here at our fiscal court meeting, we have meetings every 3 months, the 911 meeting, that we go over all the ambulance calls. Ken Little's here with us with the City of Dry Ridge, presents a packet. So we are aware of that. It's just this is not the meeting to present that. That will all be presented in a hearing with all those numbers and figures you're asking for. It's not like we've got up here and going to pass this and we haven't looked at it, because I've been looking at it for the last several years along with them. So we've been watching that trend of ambulance calls, and I get phone calls from Ken Little or the ambulance service director that, numbers are increased from last year. And we've been fortunate that they've been able to maintain what we've been paying them, which is unheard of, without doing a cost increase each year. I mean, as a taxpayer in the city of Dry Ridge, that's really not right as a taxpayer in Dry Ridge. I don't even live in the city limits of Dry Ridge, but we pay taxes in Dry Ridge. So I'm paying taxes for a service for a service that's providing services outside that city limits. So yeah, countywide. So, and that's another reason this has been coming to a point of trying to unify this and get it all under one government managing it, the public service, so that we know that it's going to be done the best it can be done. And that's, in general, that's the way pretty well throughout the United States, especially the Commonwealth, is ran by fire and EMS districts, where the professionals that know the business run it, that have a background like, well, we would be appointing those appointees as trustees with some financial backgrounds to manage it. Because if they fail, it comes back on the fiscal court. So we're going to do our best to make sure that those people in those positions know what they're doing.
It's going to help on the insurance liability across the board for everybody. It's going to help on the liability that you see or your insurance rates that you have at home from your insurance carrier. They're going to look at a professional district. You know, the district thing has been coming up since the mid-'70s. I remember.
Well, there was a petition done a number of years ago. That's actually when the $25 was created 11 years ago. They created $25 on a tax bill. It was an easy fix. It was a Band-Aid, and it wasn't going to work. And it went on for 11 years until we had to increase it because we were bringing in, for fire protection for Dry Ridge, $70,000 a year. That doesn't pay one full-time personnel in benefits. It wasn't adequate. And when I refer to adequate services, Dry Ridge, they're providing the best they can, but I think the county and all the cities deserve more than what we're getting. Because the concern is, as busy we are, we have 26 miles of the interstate. When you've got 2 ambulance staffed, and that's all you've got running, there's 2 accidents on I-75 all the time. So there's 2 ambulances right now tied up on an interstate when they can't respond to anywhere else in the county.
Do they get any money back from the state or whoever for answering the call on the interstate?
The only thing I'm aware of is a $10,000 grant that they apply for each year.
Whoa, somebody needs to look at the numbers on that.
Well, there's no revenue source from the state that pays for wrecks on the interstate. Now, they'll bill out to the insurance companies.
Right.
You know, obviously they'll do that. So,
You know, we've had people say that, well, AMR is an ambulance service, why don't you use them? You know, they will not respond to any calls in this county other than a transfer call from St. Elizabeth to the northern hospitals. And, you know, everybody said, well, they offer the service free. They never have offered anything free. They are a profit entity.
And the cost
The rest of us are not. You know, Dry Ridge is Crittenden, Williamstown, everybody together, they're not for profit. AMR is for profit.
And that's what we said years ago when this came up about ambulance service.
Yeah.
They're after this. You
Absolutely.
know, not the need of the people. Okay, I thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Doesn't Richmond have ambulance service?
They
I'm
have
sorry.
an ambulance district.
Yes.
And they contract with the city of Dry Ridge for the
Contract with the
service.
City of Dry Ridge.
Anyone else? Ken, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah.
Or?
I just wanted to applaud this members of this board. This is not an easy decision, and we are approaching almost 9,000 runs in the last 3 years. So this was very professionally prepared, and I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Moving down, I want to remind everyone our next court meeting will be Tuesday, December 19th, 2023, and the meeting will actually be in person at 4:30 here in the courtroom, and that's when we'll have our second reading of the ordinance.
Will I be reading that entire thing again at that second reading, or
We won't
I'm going to call in reinforcements if so?
We will. You did a great job. The man of few words. The man of very few words.
You didn't even bring up a bottle of water.
Nothing.
I was going to slide you this.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in favor,